Ukraine's Navy strikes 2 Russian patrol boats guarding the Kerch Bridge. Ukraine's Navy struck Russian patrol boats guarding the Kerch Bridge overnight on April 30, 2026. The Ukrainian Navy announced the strike in the early hours of April 30, stating that naval forces conducted an attack against Russian naval and boat assets in the Kerch Strait area. 2 vessels were confirmed hit the Sobol-class FSB patrol and guard boat operated by Russia's Federal Security Service and the Grachonok anti-sabotage boat belonging to the Russian Navy. The Ukrainian Navy statement confirmed that as a result of the strike, the enemy sustained both irreversible and medical casualties. The standard formulation in Ukrainian military reporting for killed and wounded personnel. The Kerch Strait is the narrow waterway connecting the Black Sea to the Sea of Azov, and the Kerch Bridge, the road and rail crossing Russia built across it after its 2014 annexation of Crimea, has been one of Ukraine's persistent strike targets throughout the war. The bridge serves as Russia's primary land supply route into occupied Crimea, carrying military logistics, fuel, and personnel in volumes that maritime and air routes cannot match, degrading Russian control over the strait and the security apparatus protecting the bridge has been a consistent objective for Ukrainian naval forces, which have used a combination of maritime drones, naval missiles, and other means to strike Russian assets in the area repeatedly since 2022. The 2 vessels hit in the April 30 strike are not peripheral assets. The Ukrainian Navy's statement identified them explicitly as key units of the Coastal Guard of the FSB Border Service and the Russian Navy, used specifically for guarding the Kerch Bridge and conducting counter-sabotage operations. That description places both boats at the center of Russia's layered security response to the threat Ukrainian forces pose to the bridge and its approaches. The Sobol, the FSB patrol and guard boat, is a Russian-built small patrol vessel operated by the FSB's Border Service, the agency responsible for coastal security and border enforcement in Russian-controlled waters. Its role in the Kerch Strait security screen is protective and surveillance-oriented, maintaining a persistent presence to detect and intercept Ukrainian maritime threats before they can reach the bridge or other protected assets. The FSB's operational responsibility for bridge security reflects the political sensitivity of the crossing. It is not purely a military asset, but a symbol of Russian control over Crimea and a target whose loss or disruption carries significant domestic and strategic implications for Moscow. The Grachonok is a purpose-built anti-sabotage boat designed specifically to counter the kind of threat that Ukrainian maritime drone operations represent, equipped with sonar, underwater detection systems, and weapons configured for engaging small surface and subsurface threats. The Grachonok was designed to be the answer to combat swimmer and small unmanned vehicle attacks on high-value naval infrastructure. Ukraine has used maritime drones to strike Russian naval assets throughout the war with considerable effect, including multiple strikes on vessels in Sevastopol harbor and the Black Sea Fleet more broadly. The Grachonok represents Russia's operational counter to exactly that threat, making its destruction in the Kerch Strait a tactically pointed result. The Ukrainian Navy framed the strike in its statement as another example of the effective work of Ukrainian naval forces and the consistent degradation of enemy capabilities in Black Sea waters. That framing is consistent with a broader Ukrainian naval strategy that has, since the sinking of the Moskva cruiser in April 2022, systematically reduced Russia's Black Sea Fleet through strikes that have forced Moscow to relocate assets, restrict their operational patterns, and increasingly rely on land-based missile systems rather than surface vessels for maritime strike missions. The destruction or serious damage of vessels specifically tasked with protecting the Kerch Bridge adds a new dimension to that degradation, attacking not just the fleet's combat capability, but the security infrastructure protecting Russia's most important Crimean logistical asset. The overnight timing of the strike reflects a pattern in Ukrainian naval operations that has been consistent throughout the conflict. Maritime drone attacks and naval strikes on Russian assets in and around Crimea have frequently occurred at night, when visual detection is degraded and the thermal and acoustic signatures of small, low-profile maritime drones are harder to distinguish from background noise. Russia's deployment of counter-sabotage vessels like the Grachonok was specifically intended to address that threat vector, and the loss of such a vessel to a Ukrainian strike in the area it was assigned to protect demonstrates the limits of the security screen Russia has built around the bridge. The Kerch Bridge has survived the war so far, damaged by Ukrainian strikes in October 2022 and July 2023, but repaired and returned to operation. The Ukrainian Navy's consistent targeting of the vessels and systems that protect it signals an ongoing effort to degrade the bridge's security architecture, even when direct strikes on the structure itself are not executed.